everyone, and welcome back to the Latinaly podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am very happy to just be sitting because I am coming off of a vertigo flare up, and the way that I got it is a little, I don't know that it's embarrassing. Well, it's a little embarrassing, it's a little behooving, it's all the things. And the story of how I got my vertigo is also tied into my book recommendations. You know me. And you know that sometimes I like to open up the show with recommendations or things or just to chat and catch up. How are we doing? You know what? How are you doing? How are you doing? Let me know in the comments. So I am coming off of a vertigo flare up, which I have to tell you, I would rather vomit for a week than have vertigo for a day. I hate it here. So how the hell does my vertigo tie into my book recommendation? Well, let me tell you. So I just finished this book, which is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. The way I got into reading was audiobooks. So I decided, you know what, I'm cleaning. And sometimes when I clean to music, it's cool, but then the music sometimes doesn't do it for me. The music does not keep me engaged. It does for a little while. And then after an hour, I'm like, I need something else, girl. I need a little something. Or I end up dancing, twerking, and then nothing I want to get done gets done. With that being said, I was like, girl, why don't you put on an audiobook? So I went up to Spotify. Boom, bam, bang. Okay, you know I'm ride or die Spotify. So I had a couple audiobooks that I was listening to. One of them I had to end up paying for. I said, fuck this. Let's try a new book. I have the physical copy of this book because it has been sitting on my shelves since I purchased it from Barnes & Noble a year ago. This has been on my TBR for so long. Then I saw it in the thriller section of Spotify's audiobooks, and I say, you know what? Let's pop her on. Let me explain something to you. The audiobook game has changed tremendously. And by the way, listening to audiobooks does count as reading. Fuck what you heard. Fuck what you heard. Let me tell you something. I haven't even listened to A Court of Thorns and Roses audiobook, and that audiobook is said to be like a cinematic audiobook. I don't even know what that means, but listening to this, I was like, okay, maybe I need to come back into the audiobook world because this had me gripped. This audiobook sunk its teeth into my neck for 3 days. The moment I popped my headphones in, 3 days later they came out, which is how I got my vertigo because I have the Beats I have the Kim Kardashian Beats collab with the little queso, that little bud, the little silicone piece that goes into your ear. Okay, I was alternating ears because I can't have them both in at the same time because I'm a mom. I have to listen for my daughter. So I was listening to my book and I had the shit in for 3 days, caused fluid. Now I'm all fucked up. Turns out, last time this happened, I was also listening to audiobooks. Nevertheless, I have come to the epiphany, the conclusion, the realization, the gag that bud headphones just don't work for me. So I'm just going to have to invest in a nice good pair of over-the-ear headphones and call it a motherfucking day. I cannot have bud headphones, in-the-ear headphones. Can't do it. Because I'm going to end up, immobile for a week. But this audiobook, so that's how I got the vertigo. Okay, but I devoured this book. Let me tell you. This book, okay, first of all, Lisa, hey girl. Lisa, babe. None of this is true. The book opens up with a prologue, gives you a little sliver of what you could expect. Then, right after the prologue, you are introduced to a snippet of a documentary saying coming to Netflix this fall. And in the audiobook, you have the documentary interviewer. And then he's interviewing people because the Netflix documentary is doing an investigation on a podcast. So this book has the narration of the story, scenes from the documentary that is doing a video version of the podcast, that is in this book. So there's a podcast, a documentary, and a fucking novel all in one book, Lisa. And you get different audio formats. You have different audio levels, so you can kind of tell the difference between the podcast sections, the documentary sections, and then the narration sections. And every character is a different actor. Be real, the production value of audiobooks has just surpassed anything that I could have ever imagined. 10 out of 10. Not even just the production of the audiobook, the book, the story, the plot, the themes, the twists. Yes, thank you. So let's get into today's episode, because today's episode is for a very specific kind of woman. She's the woman that's always there, the one that people always lean on, the one who holds space so effortlessly for people that no one ever asks who's holding space for her. This isn't about being left out of one invitation. It's about a pattern of behavior that this type of woman receives. It's about being a woman who is valuable, dependable, grounding for others, and she still feels invisible sometimes. So today we are talking about the foundational friend. There's a certain kind of woman that shows up in other people's lives as a background anchor rather than a constant presence. She's the calm of the storms. She's the listener, the fixer. She's the emotional lifeboat. People only call her when their life is shaking up, when they're breaking up, when they're starting over, when they need grounding, when they've just left a job, when their life is changing in a way that feels very displacing. But when life is light, when things are celebratory, when it's casual, joyful, spontaneous, she's often not the first name that comes to mind. And before we go any further, I want to make something very, very clear. You are not ignored because you are irrelevant or because you're easily forgotten. You are overlooked because you're stabilizing. And that distinction is so important to recognize. When you're a stabilizing presence, people don't experience you as someone who needs something. They often experience you as someone who is able to provide something for them. You provide a presence that is calm, clear, grounding, and safe. And you become the place where people can land when their life is being shaken up. And because you hold that role so effortlessly, people often assume that you're okay, that you don't require tending to, that you don't need to be held because you're good, because of how easily you hold everyone else, that you don't need the same comfort, the same effort. So in a culture that quickly responds to chaos, the steady woman often gets overlooked and missed. And it's not because she lacks value, but because she contains it and she knows how to offer it to other people without losing any for herself. And over time, people start to associate you with support and not really celebration. It's really hard to feel like that's not a rejection, but it's not. I believe that it's just a misplacement. And that is the foundational friend. It's easy for others to assume, damn, like she does it so effortlessly and she's always there for other people. She's always there to, be a helping hand or to be the shoulder. She's often there to be the strength that I need when I don't have it. So if she's able to do that for me, she may not need very much of it. When it becomes a pattern between two people in a friendship, that's not closeness. That's emotional utility. That is you being used or your strength being siphoned over and over and over again because someone does not have it. And someone always needs you to be that pillar of strength for them when they're at their lowest, their weakest, their most vulnerable. But the moment that things start to feel light, you get pushed off to the side. I think this is something often that people don't talk about either. It's that you have people that are often in survival mode for a lot of their life. And when they're in those modes, they don't know how to show up for people who are already steady, who already have the stability and they are their own anchor. They don't know how to show up for people like that. They can't show up for what they don't know. They can't show up for people in their steadiness when they've never had that themselves. It's like you cannot teach what you don't know. You cannot talk about what you've never experienced. You cannot be what you don't know. You cannot love how you've never been loved. You cannot give what you've never been given. And it's really, really hard to be the person that has gone through all these things, that is able to give that foundation, give that steadiness, strength, grounding to someone that you love very much, but you not receive it in return simply because that person just does not know how to give it to you, even if they wanted to. And I'm not saying that these are bad people. I'm not saying that these are friendships that you have to give up. It's just sometimes when you are the foundational friend, being there in moments of joy or lightness or softness for them, it's almost like a vulnerability that they don't want to include you on. And so you become the friend that people go to when they want to borrow regulation. You become the friend that they lean on when they're unsteady. And I think what's really hard to swallow is that it's not malicious. People don't do these things because they want to do it to you. They just don't know how to be anything else. So it's not malicious, but it is very revealing. And it is a big pill to swallow because it feels like shit. Being the foundational friend that someone doesn't know how to hold space for feels very, very isolating. You can feel very left out. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be anybody's maid of honor. I don't think that I'm ever going to be anybody's godmother. I don't think that I'm going to be the daily call friend. I just don't feel that that is in the cards for me when it comes to friendship. I have had friendships like that but I was very young, where I believed that our relationship would stand the test of time and they would be my maid of honor. Like, that's my that's my bitch, that's my ride or die, like male or female, doesn't matter, that we were going to grow old together. Like, I have had those friendships where that solid feeling, that security in that friendship, it was there, and then it wasn't. Years, I'm talking about 7 years, 10 years, 13 years of friendship gone in an instant. And so because I have gone through that, I don't believe, that's not to say I'm not open to it. That just says I don't believe that I'm almost 31 years old. That would be in the cards for me. Again, I'm open to it. I'm open to finding a new friendship in which I am a foundational friend, because there is a value in being the foundational friend. It's very important because those are the friendships that it's the foundation. Nothing can stand without a foundation. So having those friendships that lasted that long and ended so quickly have really taught me what the value of a relationship is, a platonic relationship. It has also taught me the value and importance of my marriage, because if there's anyone that is going to be down for me, like, no one is down for me the way my husband is down for me. No one at all. With my husband, we are each other's foundational friend. It holds such a high value. Some women are chapters, some women are bridges, some are foundations, and some are constants. Hopefully you find a friendship that is all of those things, where you grow and you evolve and your relationship evolves with the ebbs and flows of life. That's what you would hope, right? But sometimes it's not. And when it's not, they're just different roles, but they have very strong value. All of those relationships hold value in this very long thing that you live, which is your life. But being the foundational friend, especially when you're met with the same sort of love, it's wonderful, because those friendships where you're the foundation, she's the foundation, and you have that mutual foundation with each other, you you have a friendship that is built on vulnerability, consistency, and genuine care. No cattiness, no pettiness, no comparing, nothing like that. And these are the friendships that resilience is formed, where you're seen at your lowest and you're held through transitions. And these are friendships that are met without performance. And when you are met with those same things and you're able to go through those things together and you come out on the other end and you can continue to grow and build and thrive and meet each other, even when you do have a disagreement. You know what I'm saying? Even when you do, or even when you are at qualms with each other, even if someone does hurt your feelings, XYZ, and you can call that friend and say, hey, listen, and talk to him about these things. A real relationship, when you have those and you're able to navigate those things together in your friendship and you come out on the other end, those are the ones that last lifetimes. Those are the friendships that test, and truly they become the exception of what people want in their life when it comes to a friendship. Soulmates. You find your soulmate in a friend that you can go through life with and you don't ever have to worry about being put on the back burner. These are the friendships that bring comfort, familiarity, and and this is where I want to dive into a little bit more. They are a mirror. There are different kinds of relationships, right? Oftentimes I find that the foundational friend doesn't know how to be anything else other than a foundational friend to people that are only looking for surface-based connections. And I think that when you are the foundational friend, you need to start to recognize what place you hold in certain people's lives. And the thing is, I'm not talking about someone that you've known since you were 5. It could be that. It could be someone that you met yesterday. It could be someone that you knew from high school. It could be a work friend. It doesn't matter the time. And when you are the foundational friend, there's no bullshit. Like, you ever see people that are on Instagram and like, you know them. There's no doubt. But you see them on IG and you're like, bitch, what are you showboating for? Or what are you putting on this display for? I know so many people like that. But when they're around me, they keep it a buck. Because when you're the foundational friend, people cannot hide behind the versions that perform for other people. They cannot do that with you because you see past that. Because you saw them before all of that. So if they come to you singing a different tune, acting a different way, you're going to be like, bitch, who are you talking to? Stop all that nonsense. Keep it real. Be real with me. Sometimes when you are that friend, you bring them back down to reality, back down to who they truly are and their authentic self. They don't want that. Some people don't want that. Some people love to live this version that they've been presenting to other people, and you force them to come the fuck back down to reality and remember who they are, because you're the bedrock, the foundation, the first layer on top of which your entire relationship is built upon. And so it begs this question: why is it that when life starts to be good for them, when they fall in love, or when they find momentum, or they experience joy, the foundational friend gets pushed to the back? It's because the foundational friend is associated with becoming, not arriving. There are women, however, like I was saying before, when you are met with the same energy that you give, there are women who keep their foundational friends very close because they themselves are a foundational friend to her, understanding the dynamic of your relationship. And these are the forever friends. These are the girlhood videos that we see on Instagram. These are the friends that are the ride or die maid of honors. These are the friends that are, helping their girlfriend with postpartum, coming to their house, cleaning and cooking for her best friend and her husband, the best friend's husband, and, taking care of the baby so that they can nap. Like, those are the friends that are in your corner that are your actual sisters. Okay. Where women are showing up for one another as real lifers, soulmates, like I said. And that is when you are met with the same love in which you are giving. This whole dynamic, this whole understanding of what a foundational friend is, it is very important. It is very wonderful to be that foundational friend if you are met with the same space that you are giving and holding for other people, if you are held in that same way. Sometimes, though, we love hard. And when we love hard, we often can't compartmentalize who's going to fall into what category of friendship for us, because we just love. That's it. But when people start to get that softness, that joy, that wonderful momentum of life, instead of integrating their foundational friend into their joy, some people compartmentalize her and put her to the back burner. and they place their foundational friend in a chapter of survival. And it's a feeling that you have to sit with. It's a very hard pill to swallow, but do not argue with that feeling. Feel it. Don't try to reframe it. Don't try to minimize it. And don't try to gaslight yourself into gratitude. Name it for what it is. This hurts because I wanted mutuality. I wanted what I gave to be given to me, and it wasn't. And that is okay to feel that way. Sometimes when we feel that way, it's very humbling. It's a little embarrassing, but that's when we have to push our ego to the side and say, okay, stop, stop, stop. You know what? It's okay that I wasn't met that same way. Doesn't mean that she's a bad person. It just means that I need to reframe how this relationship is going to go. And that's okay, because people oftentimes meet us in seasons where they're unfinished. They meet us in seasons when they are a work in progress and they are still searching for that steadiness in their life. You, being the foundational friend, really provide a lot of that for them. But the problem is that when life starts to stabilize and it starts to expand and it starts to feel wholesome for them, they sometimes subconsciously distance themselves from the people who witnessed them in their fragility, in their vulnerability, in their becoming. Not out of malice. Like I said, all of this is not out of malice. It's just because those relationships with your foundational friend that was with you in the mud, when you get out of those seasons, your foundational friend reminds you of a person that you no longer are and you don't want to be anymore. So it goes back to, instead of integrating her in your joy, you push her to the back burner because you put her in the background. She didn't ask to be in the background. You put her there because you subconsciously say, I associate you with the time in my life that I don't want to remember. Even though you were down for me, you were there for me. But I'm going to push you to the side because I'm in this newness of life. And now for those of us that feel like the foundational friend, that's when we have to take a step back. We need to start putting people in little manila folders in our life and say, okay, you belong here, and you belong here. Because not everyone knows how to invite the people who held them together into the new version of their life in which they are still learning how to stand. The spontaneity, the soft joy, you don't get invited to those things. You ever look at yourself and you're like, yo, like, I'm here with this bitch through the mud, bro. Or when something really big is going on, but just to sit down and have a cup of coffee and just talk, bitch, why can't we do that? Why can't we go grab a bite? Why can't we just be girlfriends? Like, why does it always have to be some heavy shit? But then, you can't do those things with that friend, but then you go on IG and you see that they're doing these things with other people. They're doing the soft brunches and dinners or little parties, and you're thinking, bitch, what am I? Clearly I ain't shit. But that's where we have to reframe, because those moments sting. I don't care what way you want to put it. And this is where it becomes a very complex feeling, because you're that bitch. Why do I feel this way? I'm not the bitch that gets left out. I'm not the one that doesn't get invited. Who the fuck? What narrative are we spitting here? Because this is new for me. I don't like this. I don't love this. This is not it for me. This ain't what the fuck I wanted. So like I said, it's a very humbling feeling sometimes. And when we are put into these very humbling situations, especially when you feel that vulnerable connection with someone that you're really like, okay, like, I'm here for you. I love you. Like, this is the kind of friendship that we have. This is the kind of friendship where I'm down for you. But then when you see life happening without you as this new version of themselves that, I'm sorry, but bitch, you helped create, it stings. And it's gonna sting. And there's nothing dramatic or insecure about that feeling. Humans are wired for belonging. Humans are wired to want to be included. In certain situations, we need to come down a little bit and say, okay, certain plans aren't made with you in mind. Not because you were forgotten, but because assumptions were made about you in your life that were never actually spoken aloud with this person. And that's just the neutral truth. For example, I have 2 kids. My kids are not grown. I have 2 babies. Especially if people don't have kids and it's kind of just like a single married type of vibe. A lot of people, like, I'm not going to be at the top of somebody's invite list. Now, could people just send the invite to send the invite? Yeah, fine. But people don't operate like that. A lot of people are like, well, they got 2 kids. Like, I don't know. Like, they may not be able to come. So, you know what? Let's not even just invite them. Or like, maybe we'll invite them later. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Not everything has to be so deep. Sometimes things could just be. And it's not that serious. Being the foundational friend, you're able to offer something because you've already lived it through it. You've been through it. And so when you don't get invited to certain things or certain parties or events, you have to remember that people are often going to organize gatherings based on who they are right now in that current season. And they're going to surround themselves with people that are in similar situations, similar seasons, because it's easy, familiar, and relatable. A lot of people are not going to be comfortable sitting in a room with people that they don't relate to. And the thing is that just because you're in different phases of life doesn't mean that you've outgrown each other. It just means that life is not going to overlap the way that it used to because you're just in different phases of life. You're in two totally different chapters of your life. And so not everything is going to align when you were both in the same situation. That doesn't mean that, the love isn't there. It just means that life is unfolding in different rhythms. And you just have to find the one that works for you and your friend. And you have to hold on to that truth without resentment, without blame, because you do care about this person, which is why you do feel like the foundational friend. Okay. But now we kind of need to flip it and we need to be the anchor that we often are for other people to ourselves and say, okay, I can feel disappointed about this. I could let this sting a little bit, be like, bitch, why didn't you invite me? But I don't have to make this about me. And I don't have to make this little sting be the essence of what our relationship is because it's not. Because our relationship does have history, it does have love. And I can feel disappointed without that disappointment being the framework of our relationship. You don't need to confront them, you don't need to start withdrawing, you just have to be steady. That's it. And you're allowed to maintain the relationships in the state in which they currently live. And being the foundational friend means that you're able to recognize the natural state of your relationship with these people. And you then have to learn to say, okay, I'm okay with letting this relationship live the way that it naturally does and not push it to be something else. That's not, that you're not chasing anybody, you're not resenting anybody, you're not pissed off at anybody. You're just saying, this is how it is, and that's okay. I love you. This is our relationship, and that's all. You can still stay in your relationship with this person without shrinking, overgiving, or abandoning yourself to keep whatever piece needs to be kept for this relationship. Relationships take work. I don't care what anybody says. Relationships shouldn't necessarily be hard, but they do take work and they do take effort. So let's talk about what it actually looks like to hold on to relationships without self-abandoning. And like I said before, there are women that keep their foundational friends forever because that's who they are for that person and that's who she is for them. It's not only surviving together, but it's also celebrating together because that's your bitch and that's what you do for that friend. But the truth is that a lot of people don't know how to do that. Keeping your relationships without self-abandoning doesn't mean that you're closing off your heart. It means recognizing who is able to meet you where you are right now in your life. And it means offering consistency without overextending, presence without depletion, and love without ever losing yourself in the process. You have to stop offering foundational energy to people who only have decorative capacity. So it doesn't mean that you're cutting anybody off. It just means that you're resizing their access to you and your spirit. Less emotional labor, more intention. You're not withdrawing any love. You're just protecting the sustainability of your relationship by not overextending, by not giving so much of that foundational energy, because at the end of the day, it is energy. When you give that foundational energy to surface level relationships, it takes something out of you. And some people don't deserve that essence from you. When you start to recognize that, you start to say, okay, this is who I can give it to. This is who I cannot. And so when we're thinking about these smaller circles, there's a lightness, right? When we start compartmentalizing these friendships and putting them into our little folders of organization. Because they are going to be friendships. There's going to be ones that are fewer, quieter, that the care that you give to those people is met with the same consideration. And when you have your foundational friends in these smaller circles, these relationships are quieter. I mean, these are relationships where you might go like 3 months without talking to each other. And then randomly, you get a text or you pick up the phone. You're like, hey, girl, what you doing this weekend? You want to grab dinner? And they're like, yes. And you go and you chat and you catch up like no time has even passed. Because these are the friendships that understand that life happens, things get messy, times get busy, and just because I can't call you every day doesn't mean that I don't think of you, doesn't mean that I don't hold space for you. And so these relationships are quieter, softer, but they hold you the same way that you hold them. And sometimes they'll fall short, but they acknowledge if they fall short and they will give you what they can when they can give it to you. And it's really up to you to determine if you want to accept that. Personally, it is. I believe that it is. I believe it is absolutely acceptable, if not necessary, to be able to recognize that sometimes your friends are going to take a little bit of a dip. Sometimes the percentages are not always going to be there. Sometimes you're going to have to give 50 and they give 50. Sometimes you have to give 75 and they can only give you 25. Sometimes they can give you, 85 and you can only give them 15. When you understand that everything is just softer, everything is effortless, and it's just better that way. Those are the relationships that are rare, and you have to keep them close. So some people will never learn how to cherish the foundational friend, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's an insult, it's just the truth. And it's up to you to determine if you want to keep giving them foundational energy when they cannot give that back to you. And accepting that doesn't mean that it's insecure or desperate or whatever. It just means that you choose discernment over depletion of your energy. It means that you stop interpreting emotional limitations as a personal rejection to you. It means that you allow people to be exactly where they are without determining where you belong. So let yourself be essential, but don't be endlessly available. Let yourself be steady without self-erasing. You're not too much. You're foundational. And the work now isn't proving your worth. It's deciding who gets to stand on it. And that is all for today's episode. If you cannot get enough of me the same way I cannot get enough of you, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Latinaly Podcast. And be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, where you can watch this episode, or you can listen to it everywhere else. If you want to be on the next Sign Kaya, go over to our NGL link, ngl.link/Latinaly Podcast, and enter all of your submissions where I will answer them candidly on our next advice segment, Signed Kaya. This is the Latinaly Podcast, where we are untamed, uncensored, and always unapologetic. I'm your host, Kaya Burgos. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.